Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I am your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, the wonderful Raph Esparza.
Hello. Good to see you, sir.
It's good to see you, too. I'm happy to have you on. We just did your show in quarantine, and now you're doing my show in quarantine. So we're doing a little trading it up.
We'll trade, but I love the setup. I love seeing myself on the couch. It's a little surreal.
Yeah, it's one of those things that as soon as when we started recording the quarantine episodes, I've done one where I had somebody actually in place on the couch physically, but every other one has been like this, where you're over there, but you're really over here in the way it looks, and it's just it's fun. I like it. It's like, you know what? We're gonna work with what we got, and what we got is a very silly image of you being right here.
It does look like vaguely something they analyzed before admitting you somewhere.
But hey, I think what we need to admit is that XMen did you see how that transition? Oh my God.
Transition.
I'm good. I've been doing this a long time, Raph. I know how to transition like a champ. You've come to me today. Raph and I have known each other for many years. Raph and I go way, way, way back. And I got a question for you. Before we talk too much about your movie, X-Men The Last Stand, also known as X3, are you a big comic book guy? I get the vibe that you have some nerdy proclivities, but I'm not sure where exactly those line up.
Well, I'll tell you this. I loved elements of comic books growing up, and I was very, very close to the X-Men series. Because you got to understand, when I was a kid, they had the X-Men animated series that was coming out. And between that and Batman, those were two things that I was like, oh my God, that's appointment viewing. And I just love the epic storytelling of the X-Men animated series. Now, am I the guy who's going to sit here and tell you every single thing an X-Men has done? No, but I've always been of the mindset, I don't mind movie adaptations that take risks. My favorite Harry Potter is the third one, because I'm like, oh, this is just kind of batshit, and they're making them try to act a little bit. Mm-hmm. So for me, adaptations are supposed to be an opportunity to do something that takes you outside of the confines of a comic book.
Right.
Having said that, this is just a fucking mess.
It is just a fucking mess of a movie, dude. It's so... I remember seeing this in theaters. I did a midnight screening of it. This is one of the first movies I ever saw at midnight with friends of mine, and I hadn't seen either of the previous X-Men movies. I still haven't. 2006, I was in high school, superhero movie based on the X-Men, superhero team, directed by Brett Ratner, written by Simon Kinberg and Zach Penn. It mashes up a couple of different story arcs from the X-Men comics and does a real bad job of doing it along the way.
So since you weren't a huge fan, you don't even know the true hate that fans have for the fact that it mashed up two beloved storylines in the comic books. Mm-hmm. The first of which being the most epic, maybe the best of all time, which is the Dark Phoenix saga. And if you saw X2, and mind you, let's take you back to the context of this.
Please.
The whole X-Men series, well, the first one was like, listen, we don't have a lot of comic book movies right now. Blade showed that people are kind of interested in it, but X-Men 1 was not perfect. It was just what we did to get by.
Right.
X-Men 2, at the very end of it, they give you a little bit of a nugget, and it's a much better movie, and I do like that one. But they give you a little bit of a nugget at the end when Jean Grey basically sacrifices herself, and at the end of the movie they show, oh my God, it's gonna do the Dark Phoenix saga, and you start losing your shit because you're here we go. And then right when they're getting you that excited, you get Bryan Singer who says, I'm gonna go do Superman, and you go, wait, who do we have left? And they go, Brett Ratner, and you go, no,
Right. Because he's not who you want handling this.
Brett Ratner is the one person who thought the TV series Entourage was subtle. Like, Brett Ratner is somebody who I don't mind him directing like the Rush Hour series because that's fun and breezy. When he tried to be serious and he did Red Dragon, you're like, nah, bro. And I'm only going to address him as bro because that's the only way you should ever go up to him and be like, nah, bro, you didn't hit this one, bro. You got to get back to the bitches, bro. Get back to that shit.
And all of a sudden, the movie takes a turn from being something that you had hoped for to going straight down the tubes. What was your experience like watching this movie for the very first time?
I went to a midnight screening. I went with a lot of my friends who I did speech and debate with. And we basically realized we had not only formed a troupe to go see a movie, but also a group that was a support group to go to one another after the movie was done. Because all of us stood outside of the theater for 30 minutes and just kept saying, Kelsey Grammer, man, he was okay. Jean Grey, hey man, I would have done this. Do you guys want to go home or do you want to just eat your feelings right now? And I think the thing that I should admit right now is I definitely went home and it took me about 2 days to fully write up my feelings. But I wrote up a MySpace blog because that's what you did at the time.
Oh boy.
And I expressed a lot of feelings about this movie. And it turns out I can't find that thing now because I have no idea how MySpace even works anymore. But if you guys want to go out there and find it, it's there. And I hated it.
It's one of those movies. I remember seeing it and I had no context for it. I have no idea how this is going to wind up looking. I don't know how this is supposed to be. All I know is I get real excited in the movie theater when they say I'm the Juggernaut bitch because I watched the videos and I'm like, cool. They did the thing that I was hoping that they might do. This is fun. And I have no context of what a good or bad movie really is at this point in my movie watching lifespan. And so watching it back again now, after having understood the roles a comic book movie can play and the various ways that they can be made and the things that they can do well and do very poorly and fall into some awful tropes and and just bad filmmaking.
Yeah.
Watching X3, X-Men The Last Stand this morning, I was taken aback at how bad it was. I empathize with you. I'm not a comic book nerd, but I feel bad for my friends who are comic book fans who see a movie like this and are crushed by it because I get how it feels watching this, just being disappointed by a bad movie.
Well, again, we were told at the time we were going to get X-Men Jean Grey as the Dark Phoenix. And we're excited about that prospect because even if they mess it up, it's still going to be fun to, go and watch and get that out of your system. And, this whole series is really the skeleton of it is Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart as the two best casted people that we all wanted as fans.
Right.
And Hugh Jackman is very good as Wolverine, but they make him such a weird character that they try to build him up by shitting on every other character is essentially Fox's version of how to make Wolverine get over. So They basically just be like, everybody else sucks, but Wolverine's okay, man. And I guess Rogue's okay because Wolverine kind of likes her. So I think maybe I like her, even though she's kind of Jubilee. I don't know. We just mix all these characters together. So here's the reason why I'm mostly upset by all of this skeleton coming apart is that, you had a director turnover. So when you have the director turnover with Singer, they basically went to 20 other directors to give this movie there. And then they have two competing screenwriters to basically do separate scripts. And then they brought them together because Simon Kinberg went up to Zach Penn and said, hey, we should probably just work together if they're going to make us do two different scripts. And It feels that way.
Yeah, it just feels... I say this sometimes on the show about much longer movies than this one. and I'm shocked that this happened in an hour and 45-minute movie. There's too much movie going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much shit happening, and it's all out of whack. It's all paced weird. It's a movie this short and this efficient as far as movie length goes should not feel this overstuffed and disjointed. I want to watch the trailer with you before we get further in, because I want to see how it feels like it's going to be marketed, because I would imagine it's probably marketed to showcase some of that Dark Phoenix storyline, but
yeah,
who knows? Let's get into it. Let's take a look.
Okay.
I can't negotiate with these people. Well, then you know what needs to be done.
Okay. Well, I really don't know where this is going.
We're going to protect our citizens.
This president is also casted terribly, by the way.
Make no mistake, my brothers. The humans will draw first blood.
Like, is this Ian McKellen doing community theater?
Still,
I don't know. We got ice. Look at them. They got mutant powers.
They're gonna do it. Rogue's pissed. An explosion.
A major pharmaceutical company has developed a way to suppress the mutant X gene permanently. They're calling it a cure.
Kelsey Grammer.
Oh,
Nothing's wrong with
Frazier's there, so it can't be bad.
No, of course not.
The weather can change. Did you find what you were looking for?
The source of the cure is a mutant. More powerful than you.
Gee, something woke her. But she has to be controlled.
You know, sometimes when you cage the beast, I can't do this. The beast gets angry.
You have no idea. You have no idea what is upon us now. Fury that this world has never witnessed.
This really is all over the place, even in the trailer.
Magneto's got an army out there. You go to war, you might not come home. She might not come home.
Fire, explosions,
We're not kids anymore.
a
Hey,
funeral.
I'm not your father. If you want to go, be sure it's what you want.
Well, that can never go
Tell me
well.
we got
Telling
choice.
someone you're not their father is never a good line.
With us.
They wish to cure us. And I say we are the cure.
Look at me, G. We can help you. We can fix it. We can make it like it was. Stay with me, please.
Okay, so I feel like the Fox executives are Wolverine talking to Jean Grey, to the screenwriters and the creative forces, and being like, "We can help you. It's
Yeah.
not good, but we can get through this. We can get by the date it's supposed to come out." Okay,
We can push this through the pipeline.
A few things. One, I've been told that you have an excellent Hugh Jackman impression.
What? Who told you this?
I have my people. I have spies around the world. You don't need to know. So I need you to be Hugh Jackman right now in my mind, because Hugh Jackman to me doesn't know what a good script is. He's a very talented human being, but this is the person who was like, Van Helsing's going to be good. You guys are going to like this one. Wolverine's going to be good. And then he gives you like a Les Mis and you go, yeah, that's what you should be doing. Oh, you were in the Prestige. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, you got a real hit and miss here, my friend. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pitch you a couple movies, and I need you to be Hugh Jackman, and I need you to find a way to say yes to it.
Okay, go right ahead.
All right. Hey, Hugh, love you. Thought you were great in like Kate and Leopold. Here's the idea I've got for you, man. Would you play a young Hitler in a gay club?
Right, mate. Well, listen, I don't really know if this sounds like the movie for me. Is there something there that's going to make him feel like he's got like a love interest that still feels like there's some sort of a romance?
Sure. What's Nicole Kidman doing? We'll just add it in there. It's not in there yet, but it will be.
All right, this is set in Australia, right?
Absolutely.
All right, great. I don't even have to change my accent. Let's get in there. I mean,
I feel like that is how we get him to do movies, and I've never been convinced otherwise. So, okay, he's his own beast. Then, if you look at that trailer, and I think it brings back bad memories because I was trying to just tell myself, like, oh, I'm a fan of this. I love this. It's okay. Just go. I ended up taking my then girlfriend, now wife, to go see it like 3 days later, just so I could watch her, a person who kind of like you is just like, oh, this is nice and this is distracting, whatever, have the same reactions that everybody else had. And she's like, when Angel first takes off out of the building, she's now full on mocking it with me and being like, wee, yay, fly into the world. Like that's the way I think that movie should be experienced.
Yeah.
But man, is it bad.
It's so bad. And it just feels from the very, very beginning, you really don't get a whole lot of, like, they're saying these big overarching plot things, right? Like these points they're going to come back later on. Like, oh, we have a president now who's supportive to mutants, and oh, we have a cure that we're developing, and oh, Jean Grey is back somehow, and then she murdered Cyclops. Something weird's going on. What's happening? But there doesn't feel like, even though there's all these plot points that are being thrown at you, it doesn't feel like there's actually any stakes yet, and. No. It doesn't feel like there's any even real stakes to the movie until like an hour in.
Yeah. Well, can I tell you the thing that upset me the most in this is,
please.
So we talk about the two scripts that kind of are disjointed, a creative turnover on the directors, but one thing that's always bugged me about Fox's interpretation, the movie studio's interpretation of the characters, is that sometimes when they don't know what to do with one character, they just mash up powers with another one. They just go like, man, boy, girl, clap and make an avalanche. Hey, listen here, Calypso, you aren't Quicksilver, but we'll make you fast. And you hate Storm, so fight each other.
Yeah.
Let's see how that works.
Sure.
But to me, the one that felt the most disingenuous, and this is before we even get into the Dark Phoenix aspect of Jean Grey, is the Malcolm X versus MLK aspect of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen's characters, because in this one, they render Martin Luther King as an idiot.
Yeah. It's such a shame.
Like, Patrick Stewart has no actual, like, he's usually the voice of reason and giving people two ideas that could be okay that have conflict and saying that's why they have conflict, but they respect each other. In this one, there's a moment where Professor X tells Wolverine, I don't have to answer to you. And it's like, who's Professor X is that?
Right.
Yeah, you put some psychic blocks on this chick, she's probably going to be pissed at you. And he's just like, it was so ingenuine that by the time that Patrick Stewart is about to die, I just looked over and I'm like, yeah, just kill him, dude. I don't want to see this Professor X anymore. And I love Professor X because Malcolm X won in this round. It was a 10-8 round for Magneto.
Yeah.
And more importantly, Magneto, to me, I think the basis of a good Ian McKellen impression is just to learn how to say the word Charles. Like, if you can say Charles right, then you have halfway to a decent Ian McKellen impression. But every time they're like about to do some dramatic shift, it's just him being like, hey, listen, don't you say a bad word about Charles Xavier. That's for me to do because I love him like a brother.
Yes. And we have actually, it's great that you bring up the fact that we were wanting to kill Charles Xavier, because that's one of the clips that I have to show us. Is one of the first times in the movie that you actually start to care about what's going on. And again, this is like an hour into the movie, is you go after Jean Grey has, like, you figure out what Dark Phoenix is. She's been explained. Meanwhile, there's this whole other side plot with the cure, and it's all mashed up together. And now they're at Jean Grey's house, and Magneto's in there, and Professor X is in there, and Wolverine's in there, and they're all fighting, and there's like weird shit going on. Telekinesis is happening. It's all chaos. And we have this scene that plays out where, somebody cranked up the wind machine in the house.
They got Beyonce's machine, and it's gone too far.
The VFX machine's happening too. Some makeup's going on.
Let's be very clear. Disintegration is not one of like the powers that you really ascribe to Phoenix or Dark Phoenix, but they're just like Super Jean Grey can do whatever the fuck she wants. So whatever.
Right. Yeah, they're just like, listen, she's a class 5 mutant. The average viewing audience at home, like me, doesn't know what that means, but it sounds dangerous.
Actually, that's a great idea. I'm just going to start telling people like random shit that I've ascribed to them. Being like, did you know I'm a class 20 mutant? And they're like, ooh, that sounds powerful.
See?
It is.
Look, I mean, they even say Magneto and Charles are only class 3 mutants. They're she's more powerful than both of them.
Can you imagine if you're going to like a club and they're just like, ooh, are you a class 2 mutant? You don't get in today.
Yeah, listen, being a class 2 mutant is like wearing a basketball jersey to a club. So you're just not allowed in. You gotta come dressed up, right? You gotta come correct.
Okay, so now we get this idea that like Magneto and Professor X hate each other, but there's going to be a dramatic look. Super Jean Grey, Scarlet Witch Jean Grey is basically having her way with everybody. And this doesn't even get into the element that in the comics, the Dark Phoenix is a force that comes from space. And we weren't ready to go there yet. You know, there was no Guardians of the Galaxy. There was no MCU to prep us for this sort of thing. So
Right.
I get that they want to make it grounded, but this is just straight like, wait, huh? And how?
And this scene in particular, I think part of why I got tricked into liking this when I was a teen was because I was like seeing scenes like this and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But now I watch it and I'm like, well, this is stupid.
Yes.
This is
And
that's it. That's all. He just grunts and then he gets blown up.
well, you have to know, these are probably filmed on different days. So there's not like an actor coverage where he's actually looking at, you know, Patrick Stewart across. It's just him being like, and here's the tennis ball and disintegrated. Ah! Like, Hugh Jackman is a good actor. So props to him.
Right.
Why does this scene in particular make me mad? Number one, if you'll recall that before Magneto goes into this whole little let's go confront Jean Grey,
Right.
you hear Magneto go up to the Juggernaut bitch and say, no one gets in there at all. And then
Right.
what does Juggernaut do? He throws Wolverine, into the building.
Into the house.
Like, you had one job to keep him out of here.
Dumb limey.
It was. It's such a disservice to the characters of Magneto and Professor X, and it just hurts on the inside. And if you're looking at the elements of how it's combining the two stories, you want there to be something that's progressing and making it go forward. But just the way that they're screwing over, like, I went expecting maybe it's not going to be the Dark Phoenix saga we all thought it could be.
Right.
But to see them do this is like, oh, they're using one of the best storylines of all time as fan service so that you get the elements of it. Like, you don't get a full Danger Room sequence.
Right.
You get it trying to do Days of Future Past and doing a nod to that one because, hey, do you kids like this? And where you come in and say, I loved It's the Juggernaut bitch, was in the theater going, oh, they're just trying to appease some kid who saw that and said, that's pretty cool. Thanks, Vinny Jones. I appreciate you doing that.
Bingo. And that's the thing, because I remember, I'll tell you what, when I saw the movie at midnight with a bunch of other teenagers in suburban North Texas, when I'm the Juggernaut bitch happened, clapping and cheering.
Yep. And so when we talk about fan service, we see it now with people being angry about Star Wars and, you know, hey, I want you to do this, but I don't want you to do this. I think that most fans, if given the opportunity to make a film, would do terrible at it, especially if they were to take all of like their collective pool of ideas. They don't have a string thread. And this is one of the few times that I go, oh, well, they didn't either. So what's on screen is actually just as bad as everybody putting in wish fulfillment little pot and stirring it and saying like, well, here's what came out. Because to me, when like Scott and Wolverine are, you know, confronting each other, it's almost as if they switch places because all of a sudden Cyclops is on a motorcycle going in on everyone's on his own. And en route to Alkadai Lake, he's basically prepping for the fact of like, hey, I'm only in this movie for 2 minutes because I'm also going to be in Superman, and I'm hoping that one works out for me.
Right.
Oh, I die in that one too, or no one cares about me? Cool. All right, well, life for James Marsden sucks.
Poor James Marsden. I mean, there's a lot of people in this movie who really get the short end of the stick. Anna Paquin doesn't really get much to do. Ellen Page, who... as far as mutants go, I like Kitty Pryde because she's barely a mutant, but she's still like charming enough as a character in other X-Men versions. She's got spunk, exactly. But she barely is in the movie. I feel like, I mean, I don't even remember if she's in the Danger Room sequence at the very beginning of the movie, because like the first time I recognize her showing up is after Professor X's funeral, when Iceman is like consoling her in her room, and you're like, I don't even remember who either of these people are. Have they been shown before? They have 30 minutes that they're going to be in this movie for, and it's clearly going to be an important moment for both of their lives, but I don't need this.
You think that's bad? Imagine being the guy who was Colossus. Imagine being Colossus in X-Men 2 and saying, all right, well, they're getting James Marsden out of here. I mean, that's got to be one of the bigger roles. You kill Cyclops. Mm-hmm. Isn't Cyclops the whole key to a Dark Phoenix saga? Because Jean and Scott Summers are the relationship that is the crux of the... Oh, right. Yeah, screw Cyclops. Jean Grey just needs to bone Wolverine, and that's what people want.
Exactly. Get that adamantium boner inside of her, and all of a sudden, everything's great.
Do you think, though, when he does have sex, does it make that shh sound when it like goes in?
No, I think it's when he comes. Like just a little. It's like you know how when you go take a pot of boiling water in sub-zero temperatures and you just fling it and it immediately becomes ice? I think that's what his cum does.
It makes me think he's got a good pull-out game. Like, he's the one person that you could say actually has a pull-out game that works.
Yeah, because it has to, or else you're getting reverse teethed every time.
So to me, like, all I'm thinking about is, as I see Daniel Cudmore, I think that's the kid's name who plays Colossus, he basically in this movie, and I could be wrong, has one line. And I feel the worst for that guy who thought, okay, now these guys are all leaving. Maybe it's time for Daniel Cudmore to come on through. And yeah, I got one line in this. Cool.
Same thing with, that's the big problem with the guy who plays Multiple Man, who's got such a it's a cool power theoretically, and they reveal him nice, but then you get him in essentially like to pay off a joke. Yeah. Where you're just like, well, you got me. Whoops.
Think of it like this, though. Everybody looks vaguely like somebody else on the lower tier cast. Mm-hmm. Like, Pyro is essentially a Walmart's version of Dax Shepard. And, you know, you've got that guy who looks like Johnny Knoxville's stunt double, and all these different people kind of look around and you go, oh, that looks like somebody.
Right.
Oh, it's like they couldn't afford the full cast. So they just said like, hey, everybody below fucking Kitty Pryde, just grab whoever's like around. Don't even look to see if they look or feel like the character. And here's something that's interesting. Because they went through like 20 different people before they finally got to Brett Ratner, one of the few things I remember walking out of that movie and thinking was, oh, I mean, Beast was good. So maybe, good job, Brett Ratner. Mm-hmm. No, that was Matthew Vaughn who did that. Matthew Vaughn was almost going to do this movie. And then Fox was like, we want it now. And he goes, hey, bro, I kind of want to take my time with this. And then he had to cite family issues as a reason for not doing it. And then as a result, they kept Vinnie Jones and Kelsey Grammer from his version and kept them in here. And thankfully so, because Kelsey Grammer is actually good in this. So I do appreciate that.
Here's the question. Is he actually good in this, though? Or is he just kind of showing up and doing the best he can?
I think everybody is. I mean, you gonna tell me that Halle Berry is showing up and she's really good in this movie?
No. Oh, here's the thing: is I'm saying everybody in this movie is showing up and phoning it in, and some of those people just happen to be better actors, even when they're phoning it in. I think Kelsey Grammer's totally phoning it in. Hugh Jackman, I think, is probably the only person in the movie who actually is trying to give a shit during the movie, because his contract kind of is made off of these X-Men movies. but Ian McKellen's phoning it in. Patrick Stewart's phoning it in.
See, I look at them as trying, but also not letting it drag them down. So for me, I think the thing that you're probably referring to for Kelsey Grammer is he's getting these lines, and you have to forget that 12% of all action hero movies are puns.
Right. Yeah.
So when he's there and he's like, I hear you're quite the animal. Oh, Niles. That sort of shit. You go, God, please, someone else write that. When you see Patrick Stewart wheel his way outside and look at Storm and being like, hey, girl, you doing that Storm thing again? Ooh, I love that. Like, that's so stupid. It's so dumb. And yet, at the same point, we kind of need those moments of levity. And I get it, whatever. But I think the script is what is making them all roll their eyes. And I'm pretty sure if you're any one of these people, you probably are saying, like, what do I have to say today? God damn it. All right, fine. Yeah. I'm going to call him a furball and then I'm out of here. I will say, though, rewatching this one thing made me realize I want to see Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, and Kelsey Grammer all do Shakespeare, but in their costumes as the character. Because the one second that I saw Magneto with Beast, and it's toward the end, and I just looked at them and I go, man, what a fucking wasted opportunity. Give me some fucking Shakespeare. Right? And let Patrick Stewart open with a one-man Dickens, but as Professor Xavier, and I will fucking eat that shit up live.
That would be great. Now, there is... I have two things left before we get out of here. And one is I do, just for old time's sake, we gotta watch It's the Juggernaut, bitch. Because even watching it today, I was like, yeah, they pulled it off. This is the one part of the movie that I was like, okay, you guys got there. But even all of the wraparound to it is completely, it's just so poorly done. And it's so, and let's see how the sequence plays out one last time before I actually ask you something meaty as a way to tie things off.
Thank you. Yes,
You're
absolutely.
There you go. Give Ellen Page a little something to do.
This is just like PTSD right now. Like, I didn't know I'd be on camera watching this. I thought I had just like made myself okay with having to talk about it.
There's no need. We don't need Hugh Jackman to kick anybody in the balls. There's no need.
I said the last act of this movie is essentially a monster truck rally.
Right.
Don't you know who I am?
Here we go.
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
And there's Gravedigger going off a ramp and landing on a bunch of cars. Yeah, we can cut that. We can cut the scene. We're good. But my God. It's not even, at that point, it's not even fan service. It's service to people who don't know what to expect from a movie like this.
When you asked me to pick a movie, I said this one for a number of reasons. One, I was actually an extra in SpiderMan, the first one, and like with Tobey Maguire as an extra running around at the World Unity Festival. Okay. But like, that's not even my jam. Like, Spider-Man's just kind of its own little beast, and I'm happy that it's successful because it helped pave the way for more Marvel movies to be made. Mm-hmm. But now we're living in an era where Marvel movies are so like, all right, 30 minutes of fighting, fake character development. All right, if I might care if I like the actors, let's see how it works. And, I want to like movies. So when I go there, I want to get into it and be enjoying it. But this is one of the first times I remembered being like, oh, that scene exists because of an internet meme. And that wasn't something you really saw, not necessarily in major comic book movies like this. Like, they were still struggling. It was Blade, X-Men 1, and Man 2. And when I saw Spider-Man 2, I was like, man, they did that one really well. And I don't even like Spider-Man all that much, but that was a good movie. And X-Men 2, I was like, that's a good movie. I like that. And X-Men 3 exists.
It's there. It sure was a movie. Now, my last question to you is, as somebody who understands how this kind of filmmaking is supposed to work, and I think you got an idea about what could make something like this better, I'm going to read through some of the directors that they offered this movie to who turned it down.
Okay.
some of the, and there's some really good names in here. We got Darren Aronofsky in here. We've got Joss Whedon in here. Who,
by the way, wrote Gifted.
Yeah.
So he has half of that story already pretty well under his belt.
We got Zack Snyder. We got Peter Berg. We got Matthew Vaughn. Now, out of all of those directors, whose version of this, and let's just say, we'll get rid of the Gifted storyline. We'll keep Dark Phoenix as the main one because that's what we're sort of promised by the end of X2. Whose vision would you want to see the most out of that slate?
Still Matthew Vaughn, because Matthew Vaughn, I think, went on to make Kick-Ass, which is really good. And I think he ended up doing the First Class reboot. Yep. And I have my issues with that movie as well, but it's enjoyable. Like, it's still in that Fox realm of not getting a lot of characters right, but it was a good way to rescue the franchise. And let's talk about legacy, because after this fucking movie came out, and it's the biggest one, I don't understand that. It was the biggest domestic box office of all of the X-Men. So fans ate the shit out of this one.
Right.
And then once they they go, well, you know what? If you like that, we're going to double down on some even dumber shit and give you the Wolverine. And then by the time they finally had to rescue it because they're like, that's too dumb. Dial it back. You know, this is one of those movies that I said, all right, Matthew Vaughn did a pretty good job. If we're talking Mary Boff kill, I'm going to kill Zack Snyder's version because I've seen what he's done with all of the Batman, Superman, and Man of Steel bullshit, and I don't need that in my life because we get so many people asking to see the Snyder cut of a movie, and I'm like, that's not. You get one movie. You don't get 10 movies to do it. You don't get to
this
say
isn't Blade Runner, okay?
You know what? The whole reason Zod and Superman are killing each other is because it's going to pay off in the next movie, and it's like, no, resolve some shit now and leave a little bit of nugget there. It's not how it works. And then of those people, Joss, I guess it would be okay. I'm not a huge Joss person, but he changed me with the Avengers. I thought he did a very good job on that one. But other than that, dude, I would probably say of those two, them. Ofranowski, I think, is good, but I think he would have shown up to set every day angry. I think he would have been like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this.
Well, he did make one eventually. It wasn't a good one, unfortunately.
No. And here's the thing that I kind of want to impress upon people, which is, we ended up getting a legacy from this movie, which is kind of weird. But even worse is the fact you're asking me who could have done it a better job. They did it again. They literally took X-Men 3 and they took the Dark Phoenix saga and they said, let's do it again. And for that, and they gave it to the same writer. Simon Kinberg was also allowed to not only write it, but then direct that one. So we're talking about the saying, insanity is not learning from history bullshit out of context. It's that. History is repeating itself, and we were like, let's let that guy do it again, because why the fuck not? It's like, he could give him any other storyline, dude. But if you're going to have him fuck up the Dark Phoenix saga again, that to me says we probably will never see it done again. And sadly, I guess I have to be okay with that. But you're talking about the big what if scale. I'm going to ask you a what if.
Ask me.
The what if on here was, did you see at any point that they had Bryan Singer's version, if he would have come back, with Sigourney Weaver as the Ice Queen, Emma Frost?
Yep.
And this is the best casting that I wish would have happened. Keanu Reeves as Gambit.
I did not see that. I would love to see Keanu Reeves as Gambit, especially seeing him now as John Wick.
Well, absolutely. He was not there at that time, though.
But who cares? He still got it inside him. I trust it.
I would have thought, this is how I imagine Keanu Reeves would have been as Gambit. Mona me? More like Mona you. That would have been Keanu Reeves as Gambit in my brain.
Well, unfortunately, we'll never get that version. We're saddled with this one, but I cannot fault you for making me watch this one. It was a good hate watch, a good time for us to get together and say, are you the Juggernaut, bitch? This ain't it. Saying it. Raph. Thanks for coming on, dude. I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad you're well. Where can the listeners find you and your work if they want to hear some more of what you got?
Absolutely. I wish I was smarter because then I would have like just pulled this down. Look at that. Boom.
Right there.
After voting, that's one of the channels. So I got a couple. I do MMA and jiu-jitsu podcasts for Verbal Tap and the Grappling Hour. Those are two of my brands. And then obviously you know me, and some of it, I guess your people do. I don't assume. From Early Late Night, which is a late night comedy show where we get to talk to people who are funny like Jay and kind of break a little bit of the fourth wall on late night. I like to say it's a good late night talk show for people who like late night talk shows. And Jay was a great guest, and it's a fun thing. So check me out at Early Late Night, or at Grappling Hour, or at Verbal Tap.
All sorts of things. Let's go check all that out. And you can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. And if you like the show, I don't got show dates right now, so support me on Patreon. I got $2, $5, $10 tiers. You can join up, get into the world of hating movies with me, and we'll even watch them together. It's a fun time. So this has been it. Raph, you're the fucking champ, dude. Thanks again.
Thank you. And you know what you should do? Offer people $1 to say I'm the Juggernaut bitch and see what that does for you. Let's do some business there.
That's a special, just a special, like a cameo just for them.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not a bad idea. That's going to be, you know what? That'll be the special bonus for this episode. If you support, we're going to do a $1 tier just for this episode of me sending you a video saying, I'm the Juggernaut bitch. Personalized for you for $1. And then you're in, you're good to go. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.